Today let's talk about Sage Mode Naruto versus Hebi Sasuke. So for this particular scenario, we're just gonna pluck Pain out of his fight against Naruto and put Hebi Sasuke on his place. We're gonna use the same Sasuke who was fighting against Deidara and Itachi. He has Orochimaru absorbs and all the other jutsu Sasuke had access to before he killed Orochimaru. And for Naruto, we're going to be assuming he enters the battlefield the same way he enters it against Pain, with two Naruto shadow clones in Naomiyaboku gathering Sage Mode so that he can recharge it faster mid-battle. Naruto will also have access to all of his summons, but let's give Sasuke Manda, just because, you know, it would be a cool fight. And it's just fair, if Naruto has several toads, let Sasuke have a snake. Let's begin by analyzing their physical capability, starting off with strength. Now, obviously, Naruto gets a massive buff in strength when he gets Sage Mode. We see that he is able to casually launch that massive animal path rhinoceros into the stratosphere, and whenever Sage Mode Naruto connects his taijutsu strikes on the paths of pain, they take damage or they're just completely dealt with. Even Tendo Pain, the strongest path, was launched several meters from a kick from Naruto. It's absolutely no joke. Now, Sasuke is definitely not weak when it comes to physical strength, but he will certainly not be able to compete against Naruto's raw power here. Now, I will say that Sasuke can also produce strength in other ways, such as using his snakes. For instance, when he was able to completely halt Jugo and Suigetsu from attacking each other by wrapping his snakes around them. Jugo and Suigetsu are kind of overlooked, but they are very strong when it comes to taijutsu. They were able to block Darui and the 4th Raikage and the 5 Kage Summit from attacking Sasuke. They just blocked those two very powerful characters. Yes, they had to struggle to do it, but Sasuke stopped those two with a snake so casually it looked kind of funny. But even still, this is not enough to compete against Naruto's raw Sage Mode attack. Still, this fight will be hardly decided by the physical strength. Let's move on to speed, which is probably a little bit more important in this situation. Now, obviously, Sage Mode Naruto's got a buff in speed. His best speed feat is probably when he blitzes the Asura path with his Rasengan right before the Asura path was gonna hit Tsunade, and he just destroys it with a single blow. But honestly, throughout the rest of the fight, there were no very noteworthy speed feats for Naruto. Now, sure, he was keeping up with the paths of pain, but still, the Preta path was able to kinda keep up with Naruto, and it only got hit because Naruto used his Frog Kumite, and the Preta path was kinda struggling against Kiba and his mom during the invasion, so like, it's not as though they're the fastest people in the verse. He was very relative to Tendo Pain when it came to speed, and sure, Tendo Pain is not slow, but then again, he's not a speedster either. When he was fighting against Kakashi, Choji, and Choza, for example, he wasn't able to evade the meat tank that cornered Pain into getting wrapped in the chains Kakashi laid on the ground. And there are several moments where Tendo Pain uses Shinra Tensei to block attacks that don't really seem very fast, such as Kakashi tossing a kunai with a smoke bomb in it. Also, Naruto in base is kind of relative to Tendo Pain. They exchanged several taijutsu blows when Naruto ran out of Sage Mode during their fight, and Naruto was holding his own. Now sure, Tendo Pain was pressing him, and Naruto was at a disadvantage without Sage Mode. However, he was still relative to Tendo. So overall, Naruto is fast. He's just not in the top tier of the verse. Sasuke, on the other hand, speed is kind of his thing, especially in the beginning of Naruto Shippuden, his Hebi Sasuke phase. He's much faster than pretty much everybody else. We see that first in the Tenchi Bridge arc when he blitzes Team Kakashi. Seriously, the first time he shows up, he looks down at Naruto, Yamato, Sai, and Sakura, and then he just kind of appears next to Naruto and kind of gives him a hug, saying, "I'm gonna kill you on a whim." Yamato, this very experienced Jonin, acknowledges him as being very fast and looks like he's gonna have a heart attack. Sakura doesn't even see Sasuke moving, and Naruto couldn't do anything about him. And that Sasuke was way weaker than the one who absorbed Orochimaru, because obviously he has Orochimaru absorbed, and Orochimaru does give him a buff in his physical capabilities. Sasuke was able to fight Deidara, and he was outspitting him a lot, so much so that Deidara had to fly away. And you may say, oh, Deidara's not that fast. No, he actually is. He was keeping up with Gaara-san, which in the 5 Kage Summit arc was able to block a Raikage at his version 2 cloak trying to smash Sasuke down. And Deidara was actually outspeeding that San for a lot of their fight there between Gaara and Deidara. And obviously then we get Sasuke versus Itachi, and Itachi is one of the fastest characters in the verse up until that point of the story. Kakashi is pretty much in shock back in Naruto Part 1 because of Itachi's speed just weaving hand signs. He couldn't track them with his Sharingan. And sure, you can argue Itachi is sick in Naruto Shippuden and not at his best, but even still, he was extremely fast regardless. And Sasuke was literally relative to him. Sasuke was even able to dodge Amaterasu in his fight against Itachi for a good bit before Itachi hit him with it. And later we find out that in order to dodge Amaterasu, you have to be extremely fast, like the Raikage was dodging Sasuke's Amaterasu in the 5 Kage Summit, but that's pretty much the only type of speed that you can do it which makes sense because in the war, we see an Edo Tensei Itachi. Edo Tensei is being nerfed in terms of physical capabilities if you compare to their living counterparts, competing against a KCM1 Naruto in Taijutsu, and they were pretty relative to each other. Some people like to downplay that scene and say Naruto wasn't really taking Itachi seriously. Okay, he wasn't taking Itachi Uchiha seriously. I never bought that. Obviously, Naruto wasn't holding back his speed. There's no reason for you to go slower than you could. And that KCM1 Naruto was able to outspeed version 2 Raikage by dodging his most powerful blow just before he fought against Itachi. So if you assume the Itachi who fought Sasuke was a bit nerfed, just like Edo Tensei Itachi, they're probably around the same speed, relative to each other, and Sasuke was relative to Taijutsu against Itachi, who was relative against KCM1, meaning that, yeah, Sasuke is much faster than Sage Mode Naruto, which is way slower than KCM1 by Naruto's own admission. Both Naruto and Sasuke have pretty good precognition in these states. Sasuke obviously has a 3 Tomoe Sharingan, which he becomes very proficient at using, reading everybody else's movements, being able to anticipate what their opponent's going to do, and Naruto has the Sage Mode amped reaction time and sensory capabilities, which allows him to predict movements kind of like the Sharingan does. Now, this isn't something exactly quantifiable, or how well can you predict somebody's movements, but if I were to guess, I say probably Sasuke here, because the Sharingan has got that for way longer than Naruto had Sage Mode, and the Sharingan is much more geared towards that. I'm not saying the Toad Sage Mode is trash at predicting movements and anticipating your opponent, because we see in the war that a Shadow Clone with Sage Mode was able to do that with a 3rd Raikage, but then Naruto was much stronger, and also Sasuke with his base Sharingan in the 5 Kage Summit was able to do the same thing against the 4th Raikage by avoiding his elbow strike and hitting a Chidori on him. And the 4th Raikage is actually faster than the 3rd, but then again, 5 Kage Summit Sasuke is faster than Hebi Sasuke. In terms of chakra reserves, obviously Naruto has way more chakra than Sasuke. He can go much longer in a fight, and he also has 2 recharges of Sage Mode, which give him even more power. But Sasuke is not a slouch in terms of chakra capabilities. You just see the fight against Itachi, for example. That fight lasts for a long time, and Sasuke used several powerful jutsus, including a dozen or so genjutsus against Itachi, ninjutsus, and everything in between. And this Sasuke also has a reserve he can't tap into, which is the Curse Mark, which also provides him a boost in speed, strength, and jutsu power, essentially. After all, it is a type of Sage energy, however not as powerful as Naruto's Sage Mode, not even by a long shot. The Curse Mark was much more impactful back in Naruto Part 1, when characters were comparatively much weaker than they are in Naruto Shippuden, so Sasuke uses the Curse Mark in Naruto Shippuden kind of like a boost, and not something that will decide the fate of the fight. But Naruto obviously has more chakra. Now let's talk about their jutsus and how they would interact with each other, and who would come out on top. So one thing to note about Naruto here is that he is nerfed in terms of his Shadow Clone jutsu. He cannot produce more than 3 Shadow Clones in the battlefield because he's using 2 Shadow Clones together, Sage Mode and Mao-Mio-Boku, so he cannot just bum rush Sasuke with Shadow Clones like he usually does. Even though Sasuke tends to deal very well with Shadow Clone bump rushes, we've seen them time and time again, especially in Naruto Part 1. Naruto has a very increased durability because of his Sage Mode, but then again, I believe that Sasuke's Chidori would be able to pierce him. After all, it was able to pierce the Raikage's Lightning Cloak, which is the same element as the Chidori, which means it should be pretty good at blocking it, and Naruto's bare skin, sure, he literally breaks a Rinnegan Rod with it, but a full Chidori strike, I think, would be able to deal damage at least. And also, a base Rasengan from Sage Mode Naruto would be pretty devastating to Sasuke, so it would be a matter of who would hit it before the other. Now, because Sasuke has the edge in speed, it's more likely that he would hit before Naruto hit him, or they would just clash during a Rasengan like they usually do, honestly. Naruto can also create much more massive Rasengans, but they're not as fast as the normal one. Sasuke also has ways to block these powerful abilities, such as wrapping himself with a massive snake, or using his Curse Mark wings to block it, just like he does against Deidara's bombs. And let's be real here, Deidara's bombs, especially his C2 Dragon that he was raining down upon Sasuke, were pretty damn powerful, and Sasuke was tanking those. They are much more powerful than Naruto's Supermassive Rasengan, because we see that Jiraiya's Supermassive Rasengan in that book is stated to be able to carve through a mountain, and Deidara's explosive there, they were destroying the entire forest. And that's not to say Sasuke wouldn't take any damage, but he would be able to at least deal with them. Now, Sasuke in this situation is a much more versatile opponent than Naruto. He can mold his Chidori into a spear, he can use Chidori Stream, he can use his sword lace with Chidori, several different options for him. And if it came to a taijutsu confrontation, this would be pretty interesting because it would be the lightning style that Sasuke has in close range against Naruto's Frog Kumite. Now, we've never seen Naruto using Frog Kumite other than the fight against Pain, and in a very brief moment to take one of the rods out of the Four Tails in the war arc. He never even tries that against Sasuke in the final battle, for example. So we don't know if Sasuke would be able to anticipate that. Maybe with his Sharingan he could see some energy building that's invisible for the naked eye, but the Sharingan can see it. But if Pain's Rinnegan couldn't see it, that is probably a little bit difficult, so we can kind of assume that Naruto would probably get a hit with his Frog Kumite. Then again, Sasuke wouldn't be downed by a single blow. Yes, it would have hurt Sasuke, but in the worst case scenario, if that's too much for Sasuke to handle, he could use Orochimaru's substitution jutsu, just like he uses against Itachi when he takes an Amaterasu to the back, and if he's able to substitute out of Amaterasu, a punch from the Frog Kumite should be just fine, and he honestly wouldn't really need it because he would tank that. I mean, it would hurt, but you know. When it comes to Sasuke's lightning style, his Chidori stream would probably hurt Naruto, but it wouldn't incapacitate him or anything. Also, his sword strikes, I can see them cutting, maybe even piercing through Naruto, or maybe he could just break Sasuke's sword, kind of like he does against Tendo Pain's rod. But the Chidori spear, Chidori needles, and the base Chidori would be problematic, and would certainly deal damage if Naruto got hit by them. And Sasuke's advantage here is that it's much easier for him to use because he doesn't have to weave hand signs to use any of those jutsus. Naruto doesn't have to weave hand signs for a Rasengan either, but he needs to create a shadow clone to help him out form the Rasengan. He doesn't learn how to do that by himself until the war arc. And when you combine that with Sasuke's better speed, Sasuke would have the edge in a close quarters fight. Naruto may land the first Frog Kumite blow, but Sasuke would be ready for the next one. Still, Naruto would have several summons backing him up. Sure, Sasuke can summon Manda as well, but he probably even wouldn't do that. But the thing is, Naruto's big summons would probably not be very effective because Sasuke can do the same thing he did to Manda and cast a genjutsu on them, completely controlling their will and turning them against Naruto, which is very counterproductive. Now, you could argue that because there are more than one summon in the battlefield, Sasuke wouldn't be able to put all of them in their genjutsu, and therefore the others could break the one he put under. But if he does that for just a moment where it's important for the battle and he gets an advantage because of it, that's pretty massive. And also, I guess you could even argue Sasuke could put all of the summons in their genjutsu at the same time. After all, he was able to put all 9 tail beasts in the war arc under a genjutsu at the same time. Then again, there was Rinnegan Sasuke, much more powerful, but there is a precedent, so maybe it's possible. Manpa's genjutsu here would probably not work. First, because they don't even try to use the frog song against Pain in the Naruto fight. They use a variation where they stun some animal path summons, but never the paths themselves, meaning that it's probably not as powerful as the frog song, and the frog song is much better used indoors and when there is the element of surprise. Also, because in the battlefield where Naruto was fighting against Pain, you know, creator of Leaf Village, there's a lot of space to hide. Trying to sync in their frog song would probably not work because Sasuke would see what they're doing and he would try and disrupt them, which probably would succeed because, yeah, they have to be very concentrated and they can't really protect themselves when they're syncing up their singing. But there's another interesting element to this fight because Sasuke, in this stage of the story, he is an absolute freaking genius. His battle IQ is off the charts. If you reread the Deidara versus Sasuke fight, like what Sasuke pulls there in his plan to beat Deidara is absolutely insane. He's also very smart in the fight against Itachi. Now, Naruto, some people say he is really dumb, but if you look at the Pain fight again, he has some really good strategies as well, especially the combo he pulls to dispatch the Naraka path. But even still, I would have to give the edge in terms of intelligence and strategic thinking for Sasuke here, meaning that they would probably study each other quite substantially. I don't see this fight ending early on, and once they land a couple of blows against each other and both of them are kind of hurt but not compromised in the fight because of their wounds, they would probably go for their biggest abilities, which are obviously Kirin and the Rasenshuriken. The thing is, theoretically, Naruto can use the Rasenshuriken 6 times because he has 3 charges of Sage Mode and he can use it twice for each charge. Sasuke, on the other hand, he has to prep Kirin and shoot fireballs into the sky so that storm clouds form and he can tame the power of lightning against his enemy. Now, it is kind of implied Sasuke can only use the jutsu once per battle, but the thing is, there's nothing really stopping Sasuke from shooting more fire after he used the first Kirin and do another Kirin, because if shooting fire into the sky forms storm clouds, it should work every time, right? You just need the chakra to shoot fire, which is not that much because the fire jutsus don't really require that much chakra, especially the ones he uses to fire in the sky. The Rasenshuriken, on the other hand, Naruto requires 2 clones to help him out form the Rasenshuriken, and Naruto has to toss it against Sasuke. Now, we've seen how Pain dealt with the Rasenshuriken. He never really got hit by it. The only Rasenshuriken that was effective against Pain was the first one who took out the human path because the human path had to essentially toss the animal path out of the Rasenshuriken range because the animal path was kind of slow. But the other paths, they were able to dodge it kind of nonchalantly. And the problem problem about the Rasenshuriken is that it's not very difficult to spot it when Naruto is using it. Now sure, he did the trick with a smoke bomb where he tricked Pain into thinking the first Rasenshuriken was the real thing when, oh no, that's actually a Naruto shadow clone. But I don't really see Sasuke falling for something like that, and he's just going to dodge the first one anyways. He's not gonna wait and absorb like the Predator Path was doing. So for the most part, Sasuke wouldn't really have many problems dodging the Rasenshuriken. I mean, he's never seen the jutsu before. You can say it's a surprise jutsu for Sasuke, but if Sasuke stares at that thing with his Sharingan and sees the amount of chakra, he's gonna think, oh, okay, let me not get hit by that, shall I? Kakuzu, who doesn't have a Sharingan, looked at it and said, okay, if I get hit by that, I die, so let me not get hit by that, and then he gets hit by that, but whatever. Sasuke's way faster than Kakuzu. And if Sasuke gets hit, he can also use Orochimaru's substitution jutsu and bail him out of it. Now, obviously, the substitution jutsu requires a lot of chakra, and it exhausts Sasuke a lot, so he can only use it once per fight. And the problem for Naruto here is that Kirin is actually a very subtle jutsu. Now, obviously, when the dragon is in the sky exploding in lightning, that's not very subtle, but the prep required for the jutsu is. If Sasuke used some fire-style jutsus against Naruto, aiming them towards the sky and whatever, or maybe against some toad summons, for example, Naruto or the other summons wouldn't bat an eye. Oh, okay, he just missed a fireball jutsu or a dragon fire jutsu. And now it's raining, but it probably wouldn't even connect the dots. If Itachi couldn't predict Sasuke was about to do that, I doubt Naruto or his summons would. After all, Itachi's like the genius guy in fights, and he can predict everything and find weaknesses in all jutsus. And Sasuke also doesn't have to weave hand signs to send Kirin down to the sky. He just needs to kinda shake his hand over there and direct it. And the other advantage Kirin has is that it is much, much faster than the Rasenshuriken, for example, or any jutsu for that matter. Itachi himself acknowledges that that jutsu is impossible to be dodged. He only survives Kirin because he has the Susanoo, which literally has an instantaneous activation. Something like that, the flying Raijin, being able to phase your body with Kamui, these are the only types of abilities that can block Kirin. Otherwise, you're not going to escape that. And that jutsu is extremely potent. If you look at the explosion it caused, it destroyed the entire Uchiha hideout, and it's a much bigger radius than the Rasenshuriken, for example. Yes, the Rasenshuriken does molecular damage, it's different, but it's certainly at least comparable in terms of destructive potential. The bottom line is that Sasuke would be able to dodge Naruto's ultimate jutsu, while Naruto wouldn't be able to dodge Sasuke's ultimate jutsu. Now the question is, would Naruto in Sage Mode be able to tank Kirin? I find that highly unlikely. He probably just dies, or he gets extremely injured and loses his Sage Mode charge. But you can argue he's much more durable than Kirin, and he can tank it kinda casually. After all, it's pretty difficult to quantify Sage Mode Naruto's ability, but he was struggling against those small-scale Shinra Tenseis that Tendo was using in the fight, and a Kirin is very much more impactful than that. Naruto's best strategy would probably be to use everything he has in a quick burst. And what I mean by that is using two Rasenshurikens kind of almost at the same time to try and trap Sasuke in a way so that you can hit one of those. And Naruto does that against Tendo Pain in the end of the fight after the 6 tails were already contained. But Tendo Pain manages to first use Shinra Tensei to block one and then dodge the second one. And for that point of the fight, Naruto also used his shadow clones transformed into rubble to try and catch Tendo Pain off guard so that he can hit the final Rasenshuriken. But Sasuke would probably predict that because he's way smarter than Nagato. The problem with this strategy is that if Naruto misses, he's gonna run out of Sage Mode. And this is a big problem because base Naruto cannot compete with Hebi Sasuke in any shape or form. He just gets blitzed. Now sure, his toad summons can help him summon his new clone so that he can regain Sage Mode, but Sasuke could also try and stop that or even get to Naruto before they're able to do so. After all, in the fight against Pain, it took them a while to summon the clone into the battlefield so that Naruto could get his Sage Mode back, and he had to contend against Tendo Pain in Taijutsu in base. And say when they're summoning the clone, Sasuke puts one of the toads into Genjutsu. They're kinda screwed if that happens, because then they'll take longer for them to summon the clone, which gives Sasuke time to go and finish Naruto off in base. Sasuke also has the very underrated ability to fly with his Curse Mark Stage 2 because he has wings. And even if he loses one of the wings, he can use snakes like he did against Deidara to create another wing so that he can still fly. So even if Naruto tries to hide in one of his big toads while he's getting Sage Mode back, Naruto can get blitzed by Sasuke while he's flying with his Curse Mark, just like he kinda does against Deidara. He gets Deidara from behind with his Chidori after he flies into Deidara's position. Now I've kind of been neglecting a very important aspect of Sasuke's fighting style in his Hebi Sasuke state, which is his genjutsu usage. And I talked about a little bit the genjutsu he could use against the summons, but what about the genjutsu he can use against Naruto himself? Now you can also argue that the summons would break him him out of the genjutsu if that happens, but if Ma and Pa aren't close by, I'm not sure if the big ones would be able to do that. And even if Sasuke only catches Naruto for a few seconds under a genjutsu, this is more than enough for Sasuke to capitalize. And let's be real, Sasuke can definitely put the Naruto under a genjutsu kind of effortlessly. Just look at how Itachi dealt with Naruto before the Itachi versus Sasuke fight, when Naruto met Itachi in the forest and Itachi ended up giving Chisui's crow to him. Naruto didn't realize when he was put under a genjutsu at all. He tried to rush Itachi and Itachi was just like, yeah, you're already under my genjutsu, bro, it's over. It was the most casual thing in the world, and let me remind you that in the Itachi versus Sasuke fight, they were just exchanging genjutsu like they were exchanging taijutsu attacks. It was insane. One time you think Sasuke got Itachi, then you think Itachi got Sasuke, then Sasuke got Itachi. Blah, blah, blah. First half of the fight is essentially them just standing, looking at each other, and trading genjutsu. And this battle of genjutsus finishes when Sasuke breaks out of Tsukuyomi, which is probably the most insane genjutsu feat until probably the Kuromatsu Kame in the war arc. Black Zetsu even acknowledges Sasuke's mastery over genjutsu, saying that, yeah, he was able to break out of Tsukuyomi without a Mangekyo Sharingan because a master with a pebble can beat somebody not as powerful that's using a shuriken. So even though Sasuke's tool, the base Sharingan, was not as powerful as the Mangekyo Sharingan, he had the mastery to do it. Some people may say that Itachi didn't intend to kill Sasuke with Tsukuyomi, but the data books kind of contradict that, saying that Sasuke broke it on his own volition. But even still, before that, just the exchanging of genjutsus against Itachi is already very impressive, because the genjutsu specialist Kurenai back in part 1 was absolutely destroyed by Itachi without any effort whatsoever. And Sasuke here is relative to Itachi, so there's no reason why he wouldn't be able to do the exact same thing Itachi did to Naruto and put him under a genjutsu effortlessly. Sasuke doesn't do that against Naruto in their final battle because Naruto has the Nine Tails inside of him, which can pretty much break him instantly. But Naruto doesn't have this advantage here because he's not befriended Kurama yet. And because Ma and Pa cannot stand on his shoulders because the Nine Tails is just going to explode them back, they cannot break him out immediately, meaning that Sasuke can cast a genjutsu for at least a split second to get an advantage. This is the same principle Sasuke uses against Danzo in their fight. He casts a genjutsu for a split second to make Danzo believe he still has time left to raise a Nagi, which he didn't, and therefore Sasuke is able to attack him. Now, the only possible argument I can see of Sage Mode Naruto breaking free of Sasuke's genjutsu on his own volition is that Sage Mode just gives you so much more chakra that you can do the same trick Jiraiya taught Naruto to break away from genjutsu that he tried to use against Itachi's body double and failed, but with Sage Mode, it would just be so much more chakra that you would succeed. Then again, I find this kind of flimsy. Sage Mode is never indicated to be a powerful counter to genjutsu. Otherwise, I'm pretty sure Ma and Pa or Jiraiya or whoever else would have told Naruto, yeah, if you fight Sasuke again, Sage Mode can help you out in the middle of a genjutsu. And Sasuke can also cast a genjutsu that Naruto doesn't even know has been cast, kind of like the one Sasuke cast on Danzo to hide the eye that was not open, or the one Itachi cast on Deidara that almost made Deidara explode himself when they met, a genjutsu that you just notice that you got caught when it's too late. Now, to combat that, Naruto would have to use raw power and bum rush Sasuke with Rasengans, Rasenshurikens, his toad summons, but Sasuke has counters for it. Also, the Frog Kumite can be very effective, but if Sasuke gets hit by one, he's probably gonna, take a more long-ranged approach after that. But I would say there is a chance of Naruto getting Sasuke with one of his Rasenshurikens. It's just not the best one. Sasuke can just fly away if he needs to with his curse mark when the Rasenshuriken is coming and if he doesn't have any other alternative, or he can use Orochimaru's substitution jutsu, which he can certainly do once per fight if he gets very injured. Naruto's best approach here would be to tire Sasuke out and try to outrun his chakra, because obviously Naruto can last longer. However, Sasuke has an ability that can be used when you have no chakra left, which is Kirin, which is just this most powerful jutsu. And maybe if there are still some toad summons in the battlefield after Sasuke hits Naruto with Kirin, maybe they could finish Sasuke off if he has literally zero chakra. But I can see Kirin taking them out kind of simultaneously. Maybe not all the toad summons, but definitely Ma and Pa with Naruto, which are definitely the most problematic ones. And as we've established before, Naruto doesn't have nearly the speed or even reaction time to dodge Kirin, and tanking Kirin, sure, you can make the argument for it, but it's very flimsy at best. Now, I can see some people coming up and say, well, but Naruto literally beat the Nine Tails in Sage Mode. And yeah, he technically did, even though he needed Kushina's and Killer Bee's help to do so. But it does look very impressive when Naruto used the massive barrage of Rasengans to hit the Nine Tails 15,000 times with those billions of Rasengans, and then he lands several Rasenshurikens as well. But you have to remember that that fight was literally happening inside of Naruto's psyche. Naruto's physical body was completely still during the entire fight, meaning that he could collect Sage Mode with no restrictions whatsoever. He had an infinite supply of Sage Mode, meaning that he could power up his jutsus way more than he would be able to in the fight against Pain, for example. That's why he used so many Rasenshurikens, that massive Rasengan barrage, without really worrying about running out of Sage Mode, because he would never run out of Sage Mode in that situation. And if Naruto runs out of options and the Nine Tails' chakra starts to leak out of him, Sasuke can just do what he did in the Tenchi Bridge arc and suppress it with his Sharingan, and that's it. Sasuke gave one look to Naruto and the Nine Tails' chakra poofed away. And some people may say that Naruto may be able to counter Kirin by hoisting a Rasengan to it and just exploding it, but the Kirin would just completely obliterate the Rasengan and explode around Naruto. And tossing a Rasenshuriken against Kirin wouldn't work because Kirin is just so much faster. It's a split second while the Rasenshuriken travels, you know, in a reasonable amount of time. Not to mention that if both characters started in base, Naruto would just have absolutely no chance whatsoever because he would have to collect Sage Mode, and to do that he has to remain still, which Sasuke naturally wouldn't let him do that. Therefore, we have to give Naruto prep time for this fight, just like he had against Pain, and he still loses. Sasuke takes this fight, high difficulty, but Hebi Sasuke beats Sage Mode Naruto. Like this video and subscribe to this channel to help me out with the YouTube algorithm. If you disagree with me, please share your thoughts down below, tell me why I'm wrong. Watch this other cool Naruto video right here, and thank you so much for watching.